This is Power Jamz, the Wake Up Show. We are live in our location, and this brother right here, he's dressed, he's looking good. Jaubrae Dixon, he is on these streets with me, and tell me about your business or your ministry or your services. Talk to me, man.
My name is Jaubrae Dixon. I'm the founder and executive director of Changes. That's Community Healing Alliance, normalizing growth through education and self-awareness. I'm currently an undergrad at Cal State University at Bakersfield, majoring in social and behavior sciences.
All right, now, break that down for me, man. Give us the whole 411.
Absolutely, man. So I'm formerly incarcerated. Was incarcerated at the age of 17 years old. Lack of guidance, lack of influences, positive influences. And one thing led to a next, down a long path, and ultimately was incarcerated at 17 years old, sentenced to 19 years in prison. Through this journey, I met my first positive male role model. His name is Stephen Evans, man. I definitely got to give a shout out to my big brother, currently still incarcerated. But I met this brother, and at the first point in my life, I seen a real example, not just someone talking to me, but an example of leadership, an example of what a man was. And didn't figure it out, didn't get it all together, but ultimately it came a point in time to where getting home was no longer the main goal. It was staying home. What was I going to do? What was I going to apply to my life? What was I going to change in my life that would lead me to staying home? Based on the mentorship of my mentor, I created a self-help group while incarcerated by the name of Changes. The idea of this came at the height of COVID. I needed an outlet. All the self-help groups were removed from the facility, and I took initiative. Based on, again, my mentor's last message to me was to pass along the impact that he had on me to the next person. And that was the birth of Changes. And from that point on, I stayed consistent. I remained true to my why, or why I was doing it. And ultimately, the vision of Changes came into fruition to an organization once I stepped home.
And you know what I like most about your ministry, your outreach, your program, is that you've been there, done that. I mean, talk to us about, your experience and all, and then who you serve.
Just to provide context to a lot of individuals that might not know the ideology that is in the streets. When you're in the streets, you're raised up in it with the mindset of that is one way in and no way out. So for me, I grew up in an upper class neighborhood. Was subjected to bullying when I moved to my first black school. So me personally, at the age of 10 years old, I began masking my intelligence. I began masking my smarts. I was never from the streets. I wasn't raised in the streets. My family wasn't raised in the streets. So seeing my mentor at 19 years old, he was an older homie from where we were from, and he was taking those direct steps of changing his life, of severing his ties. So I felt like the first seeds was seeing that example. Not someone, again, just telling me, hey, get your stuff together, but someone actually living it and exhibiting it. And that was my first example that it was possible to step away from this lifestyle on your terms. So that was definitely the beginning.
It sounds like you got vision, you got clarity on what you were looking at. Talk to us about that.
I seen myself. I wasn't raised in a household of gangs. I'm one out of 8 kids that ever been incarcerated. So again, seeing my mentor, I seen myself in the future. I seen myself stepping away from the gangs. I seen myself in college. So again, just of course it probably come off to as cliche to other people, like, okay, you seen this example. Like, no, when I say I seen myself in him, that was the beginning of Jaubrae telling Jaubrae that, hey, this ain't gonna be for life. This isn't gonna be your image for life. Again, it took time, enough reinforcement, my mentor, of myself bumping my head. But again, seeing that real life example, and it's the same for a lot of the kids out here. We don't see something being possible until we actually see it in front of us. Not in the movies, again, not in a book, but an actual real life example. Someone that was from my neighborhood, someone that lived the lifestyle that I did, actually severing his ties and stepping out of that gang and that politics on his own. that example, it changed my life at 19 years old.
That's the voice of Jaubrae Dixon. And I love his story. I love his testimony. And Jaubrae, you talk a lot about your mentor. You were his mentee. Tell us more about him.
Yeah, my mentor regularly calls me. So I man, just when I say that it brings me to emotions when I hear the proudness in his voice, when I hear that joy when I'm telling him that, you know, I'm shaking hands with the mayor, or I'm up in the community and I had a little kid talking about that he never thought that it was possible to stop gangbanging until he heard my story. So, you know, when I talk to my mentor, a lot of it is me feeding him, but ultimately, man, I go back to that, you know, that last talk, that last walk. And I live by that, man. So my mentor, he's still incarcerated, you know, for right now, but every single day I know that I'm an image of him. So everything that I do, every impact that I make is a reflection of the teachings that man instilled in me. So he's living through me every single day.
Jaubrae, can you give our listener, especially that listener who was where you were a few years back, what words of encouragement, what words would you give that person who's listening to the radio right now?
2 words. It's possible.
Okay.
It's possible. Nothing more complex than that. It's possible. No matter what you go through, no matter what you endure. I'm telling you, I was sentenced to 19 years, more time than I had been alive. And I never let that thought, I never let that idea of wanting better. So anyone that's out here, I speak to a lot of youth that's still out there in the streets. I remember being that. No one would ever tell me, no one could ever tell that in my heart I didn't want it, because I put on that mask and I wore it. So to every young kid, to every young adult, to every old adult that's still wearing that mask, and it's not in a you less than what you less than, or anyone that's wearing that mask, anyone that's trying to make it out of any struggle, not just prison, addiction, anything, abuse, it's possible. But it's only possible if you want it. You commit to it. Not your mother, not my mentor. I didn't change for my mentor. I didn't change for my mom. I changed for Jaubrae, because Jaubrae came to that point to where I wanted better for myself. It's possible. It's possible.